off. Ah, beautiful. It is very live. Good. So, anyway, welcome people to another live stream, which, as I keep saying, will be posted on YouTube eventually. And that, today's thing is kind of a continuation of a stream that I did a while back about do ghosts or spirit people, do they feel illnesses or conditions that they felt when they're in the physical? Do they still feel it in spirit? And that, regardless if it was an illness that, like a mild illness, a major illness, mental illness, whatever afflicted them when they're in the physical, do they still do they still retain the same discomforts? And that, well, as all of you probably know, that once the physical body gives up, dies, passes, and that, well, those conditions pass at the same time. So basically, what I'm saying is that whatever illness you had, whether it was physical or mental, and that whatever illness you had that you were afflicted with, that you were traumatized with, when you're physical, all that died when your physical body died. Okay, but the one thing that does remain, unfortunately, is the memory of it. In other words, what you remember of what you're afflicted with. Whether it was the pain, the chest pains of a heart attack, a blow to the head, a headache, well, for those who passed from COVID, tightness of the chest, coughing a lot, all those conditions that would normally you would feel in the physical, and that, well, a lot of spirit people, unfortunately, they do remember a lot of that, because don't forget, they were traumatized so much in the physical because of these conditions. And that, now, it's not just physical ailments that they also remember, okay? Some of them do kind of remember what they endured if they had a mental condition, whether it was depression, severe depression, chronic depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, dementia, all those other mental illnesses, okay? Well, naturally, when they're in the spirit body, they won't, okay, especially those that say were, for an example, schizophrenic, like my mother-in-law, okay, in the physical, she heard all kinds of voices and stuff in her head, but as soon as she came out of the physical and she was in the spirit body, all those voices were gone. And then, but because everything happened so quickly, according to her, that she was extremely confused. Okay, so for those who come out of the physical body and spirit, and they had some kind of mental condition, and that they're still bound to have some possibly lightheadedness, the memory of it, confusion, like not knowing what to expect next, and that's why either loved ones or spirit guides or guardian angels will come down and collect them, will give them guidance, because a lot of them, they just need a little bit of guidance to move on to the hard side of life. Okay, they just need a kind of an escort, if you will, and okay, that kind of stuff was talked about in the previous video. Okay, but this one, I'm more talking about one of my favorite subjects is ancient peoples from ancient cultures, like ancient Egyptians, ancient Romans, ancient Babylonians, people that their religion basically was, they lived on the earth in the physical. Well, in their afterlife, they're still on the earth plane, and that, but kind of like a perfect extension, if you will, and that, so it's a kind of a continuation kind of thing, especially the Egyptians, and that they believe that when they passed, okay, that the spirit body arose, and that, but then the spirit body would come back, okay, because you see the life force, okay, was known as the Ka, and the soul which stayed behind, which is known as the Ba, okay, well, the two of them will be separated, but they had to be rejoined again, and then in order to proceed with their afterlife. Okay, well, if some of these kings or pharaohs or whatever you want to call them, if some of them had some kind of a physical ailment or a mental ailment, especially a physical ailment, okay, well, because they haven't gone to our version of heaven because they didn't believe in that. Okay, they had their own version of heaven, okay, which is down here, okay, what they call the field of reeds, a happy place and stuff like that. Well, it won't be so happy for them if they're still in the atmosphere where all the memories of their suffering is still prevalent. So basically, they'd still have, and let's say if they died of an infection in the jaw because of a bad tooth, okay, well, they'll remember that pain. Or if they had mental illness, they would remember the confusion and all that crap. Okay, they wouldn't have it, but they would remember it, just like any physical ailments. Okay, of what they remembered, and that they will still be suffering from it, but not understanding why. As they would think that as soon as the physical body gave out and they're in spirit now, that all those bad feelings would go away for good. Well, unfortunately, because of it, they were so traumatized in life that they're still remembering, they're still kind of reflecting, even if they're doing subconsciously, they're still reflecting the discomfort that they went through, and that. So basically, you know, basically, then it'll be a continuation from the physical to the spirit. Their version of heaven. It'd be still the continuation thing would still be in place, and that, but all those discomforts would still be there, but in spirit, and that it's just a memory. But it's a memory I think they prefer to forget, but because they're so committed to what they did in life, and they want to continue doing that, then especially if they had a high role, like a pharaoh or a high priest or whatever, they still have an obligation, even in spirit, to lead their people, and that, and so therefore, of what they remembered, they're still reenacting, but of what they remembered physically, they're still experiencing. Okay, because there are quite a few pharaohs that had a lot of ailments, and I think a couple of them, they actually died because of these ailments, because they didn't really understand what was going on. They knew they had a pain in the mouth, okay, but they didn't really have that much knowledge in what to do about it. All they could really do was just persevere. They knew, well, once I die, the pain will be gone. Well, sure, the pain and everything else will be gone, but the memory still lingers. And so, unfortunately, for them, and I feel bad for them, like, they weren't bad people, they just, it's just the way they lived, what they believed, their culture and stuff like that. And it's just part of the way they were. And that's so, but anyway, I just wanted to do this quick stream just to let you know what I learned about ancient peoples and that. And do ghosts feel illnesses and stuff like that? Yes, but just a memory. And that. They don't have any of the physical elements anymore because they're not in physical body anymore. But they do have the memory of those elements, whether it's physical or mental, and that. And then in some cases, they even indicated that they had spiritual elements that the gods would take care of, and that I could never really figure out because they had so many gods. It's kind of hard to. It's kind of confusing even for me, and that. But anyway, for people that understood ancient Egyptian religion better than me, then they're bound to have some issues, with their gods and stuff like that. And in fact, some of them actually think that because things didn't work out the way they thought it would, that they thought that their gods were not happy with them or something. And at least that's what they believed in that. And when they're still afflicted with all these discomforts while in spirit, they believe that the gods have afflicted on them because something that they did wrong, and they didn't, seek forgiveness or whatever, So they think, oh, well, one of my gods is still not happy, and I got to do something to make him happy to get rid of this pain. All it is just a memory, That's all basically all it is. So, anyway, I'll be on again next week, and the topic for next week is curses. Okay, that's my topic for next week, so anyway, people. Thank you so much for joining me and I'll be posting this on my YouTube channel. So if anybody wants to comment with what about this topic and stuff, if you want to comment about it, or you want to give your feedback or your opinion on it or whatever, please feel free to do so, because I learn so much that way. And I really appreciate your support. Each and every person that watches this video, thank you. Because you're supporting me big time. And I really, really appreciate that. Okay, so everybody, if you have any questions, just contact me and I'll do my best to answer your questions. Okay, so anyway, God bless, and I'll see you next week. Okay.